Hello, welcome back to Good Knit Kisses. I'm your host, Kristen, and today I am finishing up my blanket, and then I'm going to write up my blog to tell you about my experience with the Bernat Stitch Along and Joann's fabric stores, craft stores, and I am going to show you how to bind off or cast off remaining stitches purlwise. So cast off, bind off, about the same thing, and what I'm going to do is with it purling on the wrong side row, and some people have asked a question how to do that, so I'm going to show that, as well as showing how to connect the two panels coming together to kind of fake a stitch and then weave in the ends. So I'm going to do both of those right now. This is not a talking tutorial where I'm going to do a bunch of chatting, but you can just watch me do this and then I'll put this into a tutorial later. So I'm glad to see you this evening. I'll say hello to a couple people and then I'll get started. Hey Dawn, hey Christine, thanks for joining me. Hey Ada, I hope you guys are doing well this evening. All right, I'm going to get started and I'll do binding off remaining stitches or casting off remaining stitches purlwise, and then also connecting that last panel and faking a stitch. All right, here we go. Okay. So I've got my panel that I finished. There was a beginning, there was one side here that it ended and we connected our stitches, and I've made this edge here, finish connecting this very last stitch, and it's now all put together here. And they've got this remaining row. Instead of knitting the stitch like I normally would and doing a standard bind off, I'm just going to purl it. So just go straight in there. We're going to purl that stitch, purl the second one, and then we're going to lift the back loop over the front loop and create that first bind off. Purl the next stitch, lift this back loop over the front loop, and that bound off the next stitch. So you're doing this on a wrong side row, purling, and then it will be knit in the front. Otherwise, if you try and add a row on the wrong side and bind off on the front, it will be too long. Just continue binding off every single stitch. If you need to pause your video, you can do that and meet me back up when you're ready. You've got a couple stitches left. This is the Bernat blanket yarn. You can also use the baby blanket yarn or the brights. There's a variegated, and I'm using a US 11 needle or 8mm. These are DPNs, double pointed needles today. I've got 2 stitches left. I'm going to purl this last one, work this last stitch here. Okay, and instead of trying to loop over and make another one, I'm going to simply break my yarn. You can snap this one easily, or you can use your scissors and then just simply pull that on through like that. And so that is done. And you see how it's finished this off nicely. There's not an extra long area here. And then what we want to do is, you see how there's like a little gap here. So this is where we just did this purl bind off, and then this is where the edge of one of the edgings came together, and then we've got this little gap. So what we're going to do is close this gap here. So we're going to fake it, right? We're going to use one of our tails from adding them together in the first place, and we're going to get a tapestry needle, a large-eyed tapestry needle. You can use whatever size works for you, whatever, if it's metal or if it's plastic. I just happen to grab this one because it fits this yarn. And then now if you have something that has so now I have these stitches here on the edge, a little chain stitch. Now if you had chain stitches along the edge here, you can kind of fake this stitch here easily, what I'm about to do. So I'm mainly closing the gap, but say this was an edge of a hat or something like that, then you would really want to match up with the chains from both of them. But because this is the side of a garter stitch, I can't really do that. So you want to kind of examine what you've got. I've got my yarn coming from this panel here, this one here, and so I'm just going to come in the other side, from this side, and then come around, and then grab underneath 2 stitches here, and we're gonna kind of fake a chain stitch here, coming around, and then we're gonna go back through. And then we've just created a line here. See that? How it's connected it? And then I'm just gonna come back in here again and then completely close that up. Now, if you still think that it's too much, because the way this wasn't completely, it wasn't completely like a chain here, so I can actually come back around again and make another chain, and come underneath the stitch here, and I'm basically building it up to make it look like it has this extra volume of yarn here. It works really well on this yarn in particular here, and because it's so bulky, it's good that I continue working with it. So now I can come in here and start weaving in the rest of this. So I'm gonna put it to the back. Okay, and then I'm just going to go behind my stitches and weave this in. Okay, and then I'm going to go back in behind the rest of these and lock it back in with the rest of it, and then trim it. When you get it back over itself, it tends to not go away and not work itself out. I'm going to cut it, and it's in there plenty of inches. So see how this kind of even that out. And then I have this other strand left here, and because I had cables going on, I have this little sort of open space here. I can tack this down and make this really flat. I can use this to sew it in. I think this one's fine, but on another end, there wasn't this last cable here, and so I just used the rest of my yarn to stitch it in. So I can choose to do that here or not, but either way, I need to weave in this tail, and so we're just going to put this through. And for the purposes here, I want to show you how you can just tack down the rest of this cable. So I'm just going to weave it through until I get to the area that I need. Okay. Go behind these purl bump stitches. Going behind a purl bump works really well. And just following along the stitches, if you can, you see a stitch kind of coming out this way, and then you can wrap around and go behind the other way and kind of finish out that design so it imitates these other stitches here. It works really well. So I'm going to put it to the front here and kind of observe my knitting, and I'm going to kind of tack this down how I think that it should go. So I'm going to put my my knitting together, all my stitches, and kind of fold it in. I'm going to go through these back stitches and go through where I have at least 2 loops on the top here and 2 loops here, because if I only do one, it's going to pull. Okay, so I pulled all the way through there, and then now I'm going to go over and get an entire stitch. Let's see, I'm going to go over 1 stitch here and go through the back as well to really grab onto that. And then we'll come up the back again and go up, and then go down again. And really get this tacked down. And this particular yarn is very forgiving which is nice, especially when I'm tacking down a very large cable such as this one. And then once I've got that in there, I'll just go along the back and follow these stitches. You know, your stitches kind of have this little half moon crescent shape, and then you can just work alongside them. And once you get it in there, several inches, you can come in and cut it. And then this one is alongside where a garter stitch is. So if you're wanting to come along the back side, so this is the front, this is the right side, and then this is the wrong side, you can come along and work your way back up. And sometimes you're, this is where a slip knot or beginning edge was, and this corner may not be as nice as you want it. So you can actually go up through this other corner and square off and complete that edge to make it look a little bit more square first before you start weaving in your ends. And see how it made that corner nice? And so now I'm just going to go through the back of my stitches and weave this in. And then I'll go through this side of these stitches here and kind of weave back and forth. And if you're not sure if you're going too far to the front, then you can turn it over and make sure if you are exposing your stitches on the front. So be sure and check your work, especially if you haven't done this very often, and just make sure that you're not showing off where you're weaving it in. So I like to kind of go up the side of one of these columns here and see how it completely hides, and you can't see it at all on the front. So I just kind of weave back and forth through the sides of these stitches, two at a time here. And then I can go back, and I'm kind of going back sort of the way I came in a slightly different entry point here. And then the yarn isn't going to start unraveling on me once it gets a point where it's washed or whatnot. Okay, so if I go to the front, I don't see that at all. I'm ready, and I cut that. And this corner is done. Look at this pretty corner. Well, I hope that has helped you today. I've enjoyed my blanket. I'm going to finish up the blog tonight. The weather here is a little stormy, and so hopefully everything else does well on their blankets and enjoys it. I'm gonna hold it up, a little sneak peek. I've got one more little thing to do, and then that will be my last part. So I wanted to hold this up. Let me show you the first part. This is week 1. Okay, this is week 1 or clue 1. This is clue 2. And clue 3. And then clue 4 was the large cables. Isn't that cool? And you didn't have to worry about trying to do a miter. There was no like sewing of different edges together. So this project was supposed to be a beginner. It's more like a beginner plus and then intermediate. But I would say it's like a beginning intermediate. It seems daunting to tackle, but if you watch the videos and kind of keep going over and over on those, and then with practice, you can become an intermediate when you do something like this. Now, the blanket may or may not be your preference, but boy, you know, having a stitch-along blanket is really nice for learning new things, and I can always find a use for things like this. So my son really thinks it's nice and cuddly, so he was tempted to give it to his teachers. His teacher who's having her first baby, which we were already going to be making stuff, and we've already given her some things. But after he finished seeing it completed right before bed, like just the couple of strands left, he's like, okay, I want it. So anyway, we're excited. He's going to have this to snuggle with, and his older, smaller blanket for babies can be retired a little bit today for him. So anyway, thank you guys for joining me live. I'm going to say hi before I sign off. You did a double take, Gayla. Welcome. I'm glad you came in. Yeah, when you saw it live. I know I don't normally do it at night. Hey, Carissa. Hi, Lisa. Yeah, I wish I could do more videos at night. This is kind of the time when I can do some more filming and I can do some editing, and it's quiet with my kids. So I'll consider doing maybe one a week at night. Is that something you guys would rather have? Maybe I should find out. Let's take a poll. Yeah, is that so sweet, Chris? Yeah. Chris, and you have a blanket coming along. How is yours coming along? Hugh, you said, wish I could see more videos of nice kind of the time I love to work. Oh, sorry. I'm kind of not understanding, but I think maybe what you're saying is that you need nighttime videos like this. Now, you can always check my videos on my channel. Just go to facebook.com/goodknit-kisses YouTube. Unfortunately, I have to spell it all out, but if you type in the search bar Good Knit Kisses, you'll find me with the little Good Knit Kisses icon. And so if you'll click on that and go click on videos and then look at playlists, there will be a playlist for each day of the week and the different things that you can learn. Mondays are Q&A, Tuesdays are loom knitting, Wednesdays is knitting and yarn, Thursday crochet, and Friday is social media crafting day. So if you have questions for social media stuff and need help, I'm your girl. So you got a little behind, Chris. You're chugging away. Yeah, I got a lot behind. I was supposed to get out my blog, well, sometime today, and I'm like looking, I don't even have my watch on. I'm like looking at my arm. I'm trying to get this done by midnight here so I can send out the blog in the morning and the newsletter. But I got behind because my daughter was sick on Monday, and then Tuesday she got hurt and we had an x-ray, and then today I heard back from the doctor who heard back from the pediatric radiologist, and then they said we need a second opinion. So tomorrow we are going to a pediatric orthopedic or what is it? Anyway, she has to get us a consult because they said it's like a chip fracture and some other big words. So anyway, yeah, I just had to help her with her homework tonight, like where I was answering like in pencil and writing down what she said in answer. So she, thank you for asking, Chris. Yeah, her pain level when she's on medicine is about a 2 or 3, but then it starts shooting like up her arm and to here, like when the pain medicine kind of goes away. So her prescription strength one just came. It's just like an Aleve or something. So it finally got filled. I don't know why. Insurance took forever for some reason. So anyway, I know lots of personal information, but yeah, so she just went to bed a little late because we were having to do homework since she can't write. So, oh man, and I saw Joanne. She's just hopping on and I am about to hop off. I'm so glad you joined us though. Yeah, I hope she gets relief too, Gayla. Yeah, so this chip fracture or whatnot, yeah, so she's gonna see the pediatric orthopedic doctor, and go see him tomorrow morning, and they will tell us what we need to do and all that stuff. So anyway, I'm glad you guys joined me tonight. This was kind of fun. I just thought I'd record the video, and then if anybody needs that tutorial, it'll be there forever. Anyway, you guys have a good night, and we'll see you tomorrow for Thursday Crochet live video in the morning if you're available. Otherwise, catch me on the replay. If you have questions about this video, please be sure and let me know. You say question, and I can see if I can address it on a knitting day broadcast. All right. Bye, everyone. Love ya.